Hey, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to all my cloud scholars. My name is Kieran Tross, and here I'm talking to you today about the new Microsoft Entra. So some of you have probably heard about the news already, and that's why you clicked on this video, is because you're like, okay, what is Microsoft Entra? Why is Microsoft changing the name? What does that mean to my current environment? What do I have to make modifications to, etc., etc.? So first, let me stop you right there. The name is just a name. It's just a name change. So there's no changes to your environment, the resources you have deployed, the custom domains. You don't have to make any modifications. There's no action required of you, the customer. So some of you are asking, well, why the name change? Well, it's supposed to be for some type of rebranding purpose. I read through some documentation. To be honest with you, this is what I expect from Microsoft. Because I've been dealing with Microsoft for what? 16, 15, 18 years, whatever the case may be. And if you work within Microsoft, let's just say Office 365, they're constantly changing something there. Defender for this, Defender for that, Defender for this. And then in Azure, they're making changes as well. This is something that Microsoft, is just constantly doing. They're doing some rebranding. What they want to do is emphasize on ID and everything within Microsoft Entra. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later on in this video. So as I mentioned to you before, there's no action is required from you. If you're using Azure AD today or currently deploying Azure AD in your organization, you can continue to use the service without interruption. All existing deployments, configurations, and integrations will continue to function as they do today. Only the name is changing. So let's talk a little bit about the name change. So the licensing is going to change, but it's going to stay the same. So what do I mean by that? So your license that you have right now, you're still going to have the same license. It's still going to be the same cost. They're just changing the name, and they're also changing the license name. So what does that mean? So Azure AD Free is going to be Microsoft Entra ID Free. Azure AD Premium 1 is going to be Microsoft Entra ID P1. Azure AD Premium 2, Microsoft Entra ID P2, and Azure AD External Identities is going to be Microsoft Entra External IDs. So they're saying the name change is going to begin to occur around August 2023. The time I'm making this video, this is July of 2023, the end of July. As soon as I wrap up with this video and edit it, I'm going to push it out there because I want people to understand what's going on with Microsoft Entra. And this is what we do here at Cloud Scholars, is try to give you the news relatively soon. So this way that you can stay up to date on what you need for your environment. And then also just to help out the community. So what else is the name not changing for? So they say the name is also not changing for Microsoft Authentication Libraries used to acquire security tokens from Microsoft Identity Platform to authenticate users and access secure web APIs, Microsoft Graph, Microsoft Graph PowerShell, Windows Server Active Directory, Active Directory Federation, Azure Active Directory B2C, and any deprecated or retired functionality feature. So let's go through these frequently asked questions. So it says, when is the name changing? The name change will start to appear across Microsoft Experience after 30-day notification period, which started July 11, 2023. And display names for SKUs and service plans will change on October 1st, 2023. As I said before, why is the name change is as part of our ongoing commitment to simplify secure access experience for everyone. The renaming of Azure AD to Microsoft Entra ID is designed to make it easier to use and navigate the unified and expanded Microsoft Entra product family. What is Microsoft Entra? So this is a very good question. So what is Microsoft Entra? And normally I like to start off the videos with what is Microsoft Entra, but because there was so much pushback about Microsoft Entra, I wanted to start off by saying what I know everyone was thinking is, what do I need to do in my environment and how soon do I need to make these changes before I may have some kind of security gap or security flaw. So, now that I've coached that and that we know that there's no security gap and it's only a name change, let's talk about what is Microsoft Entra for some of you who do not know, who haven't used it. Microsoft Entra has been around for a little while. It's just that you have to go to a different portal to get to Microsoft Entra, and you could actually done the same work that you wanted to do within Azure Active Directory when Microsoft Entra before this permanent release of Microsoft Entra. So that's just an FYI. So let's talk a little bit about what is Microsoft Entra. So Microsoft Entra helps you protect all identities and secure network access everywhere. The expanded product family includes Identity Access Management, which is the Microsoft Entra ID, currently known as Azure AD, we're going to be changed. Microsoft Entra ID Governance, and then there's also Microsoft Entra External ID, Then there's the new identity categories, which is Entra Verified ID, Entra Permissions Management, Microsoft Entra Workload ID, and then there's the network access, which is the Microsoft Entra Internet Access and Microsoft Entra Private Access. Okay, so now that we've talked about Microsoft Entra, explained there's no changes really coming about except for a name change. What I want to do next is just pull up and show you the Entra admin portal. So this is to let you know exactly where you'll be living for the next couple of years until Microsoft changes their name again. Okay, so now that we're in front of the laptop, we got the screen pulled up. One of the first things you do is to get here is to go to entra.microsoft.com, and then you'll be opened up to this Entra Admin Center page. So we're talking about Microsoft Entra. Here's a couple of, this is pretty much the overview of what's in Microsoft Entra. So you have the Microsoft Entra ID, and you see here previously known as Azure AD. Then you have identity protection, identity governance, verified ID, workload ID, permissions management, and internet access, private access, and then you have this get started for free. So let's first start off with the whole identity piece right here. And this right here is pretty much Microsoft Entra identity. And over here is where you would have it's your Active Directory. Think of it, right? So you have the same stuff that you have in your Azure Active Directory. So let me pull up the old portal so we can now see exactly how everything looks. So I'm going to jump back and forth between these two tabs, right? So this is the portal, Azure portal, and then this is Entra ID. So Microsoft Entra, excuse me, Entra Admin Center. So over here, identity is pretty much the same stuff that you would have in your Azure Active Directory. So if I were to come here to overview, if I go to Microsoft Azure Active Directory, you're seeing the same thing, right? So upcoming AD rename, upcoming MFA server deprecation, all this other stuff. And if I come down here, you're going to see the same stuff pretty much, right? It's the same thing that's really pulling up in here as well. You can go in here, you can do your users, you have your groups, you have your devices in here as well, have your applications, enterprise applications. If I go back here to Azure Active Directory, you have your enterprise applications over here as well. So you see, you're not really missing anything. What they did is just pretty much did a consolidation of how you can get to each section. So that's with your Entra ID. So then now we go to protection. Over here, protection, we have our identity protection. And this is where you would get that in the security section within Azure portal, right? The Azure Active Directory. You have your conditional access here as well that you can get to, and you can see the same exact stuff that you would see if I were to come here and I go to security, and then you see you have identity protection that you can get to. I showed you that previously. Let me go back, and then you go to conditional access here within Microsoft Azure, and you can get it as well. So you see, they just pretty much consolidated stuff, right? You're still seeing the same stuff, they're still seeing the same report, and you can still make the modifications. It's just a little bit different, the steps you take to get to it. But to me, I mean, the way they consolidated it, it's a little bit easier to get to. It's a little bit more intuitive. You have the security sensor here as well, which you can, get to. And all this stuff is down here as well. So they just made some modifications. Now, some people may be saying, well, what was the point of all this? I can see where you're coming from with that one as well. But hey, as I said to you earlier in this video, it's Microsoft we're talking about here. They're going to make these modifications. If you're working within Microsoft, this is exactly what you're going to be dealing with. So over here, we have identity governance. So we have access reviews, and then we have entitlement management. We have privilege identity management. So if you understand Azure portal, the previous way of doing it, you would not get this within this window or within the Azure portal window. You would literally have to come up here and type in identity governance. And then within here, you'd be able to see all the stuff that you need to see. So that would be your access packages, your access reviews, etc., etc. So it is definitely a consolidation of where you can get to it and get to your stuff. I didn't think it was too bad before, but then again, I was just used to how things were going. Then you have other things, which is your verifiable credentials that they have now within the Entra ID. And it says, please complete the first step of setup page before using this service. So I have to go through and set this up.
So I haven't done this as of yet. Obviously, you can see it on the screen. So what I'll do is I'll probably make a video and go through how to set this up and how that looks as well. But this is just pretty much a quick overview video of Microsoft Entra Admin Center. Then you have permissions management as well. As you can see here, I'm not using that because this is new. So this is new to me as well. And then what we have next is global secure access, which this is in preview mode. So what I want to do is I want to have another video just talking about this global secure access and show you exactly, go in a little bit more detail of what's coming on the pipeline in that area as well. So this was supposed to be a quick overview, just kind of getting the message out there, trying to calm people down a little bit about Microsoft Entra and what you need to do and what you need to prepare for, which honestly you don't have to prepare for anything. You're just going to be going to the entra.microsoft.com and doing the same workloads that you were doing and performing before. So I hope that this information here I provided for you was beneficial. If you haven't done so already, please smash that like and subscribe button here at Cloud Scholars. My goal is to get you from scholar to consultant and from consultant to expert. Thank you and see you next time.